Freestyle Friday, SDH AM, and since it is a Friday, that means one thing and one thing only, that we start the show off as only we start the show off. So here we go. Strap in.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
SDHM on a Friday, and we know what that means. We start the weekend off. We take a look at what happened yesterday in the World Cup. We'll go over that, get you ready for today. You will hear from Mauricio Pochettino. You will hear from Jesse Marsh. You will hear from Stephen A. Eustachio, because the other two hosts that did not play yesterday are playing today. And if it's anything like what happened yesterday, we're in for a hell of a tournament. 2 matches yesterday, and one of them had 3 red cards. And in one match, you have the opportunity to go 1 red card closer to last World Cup's number of reds in the total tournament. In Qatar, you had 4 reds. Leadoff match yesterday, you had 3. We'll get into the repercussions coming up in a bit when we talk about what happened yesterday. So the tour today is this. Looking at yesterday, looking at today, like I said, we'll hear from Mauricio Pochettino on a couple of topics. We will hear from Maddie and Jason, the AST Rewind. You will hear from them about what they're looking for in this matchup coming up late tonight in Los Angeles at LA Stadium, I guess, otherwise known as SoFi until the lights come on. So we'll get into that and the matchup against Paraguay. We'll check quickly and see if we have a Julio and Ciso update while we're there. Also, we're going to, when we look at the activity going on, the early game today, Bosnia-Herzegovina and Canada at BMO until you walk in the door. Toronto Stadium. So it'll be at Toronto Stadium this afternoon. You're going to hear from Jesse Marsh, and you're going to hear from Stephen A. Eustachio. Stephen A. Eustachio was asked about the back line and the possibility of Luke Fougerolles getting a start at the age of 20 because of the injury to Moise Bombito. So we'll get into that, and it is you'll also hear about a story. Morning, David. There was a story floating around in Toronto that there could be as many as 30,000 Bosnian and Herzegovinian fans at this match. Like I said, that was floating around. One Soccer's Oliver Pratt gets to address the topic, or Oliver Platt gets to address the topic with Andy Petrillo and Gareth Wheeler. We'll catch you up on that. Also on the board, we're going to take a bit of a tour to a couple of places that are host venues. And what I mean by that is not like the stadiums themselves, but like the towns that are embracing national teams as they practice and get ready for their trips around the United States in their games. We're going to check in on Kansas City and technically Lawrence, Kansas, with Harold Kuntz from Fox 4 in Kansas City. He was in Lawrence to see the Algerian national team at their public practice. And we're also going to hear from Yanni Caracas from WPBF in Palm Beach. And he was at FAU for Curacao. We're just going to kind of get the slice of life things from the two of them. Really cool stuff that's there. Chris Whittyngham from 19 different places, including Apple TV, Paramount Plus, you name it. We'll catch up with Chris. And when I sent him a note on LinkedIn about it, that's going to be at 10 o'clock. And I said, I wonder what's going to happen when you have a Hurricane and a Seminole wandering around in the same segment. There won't be any smack that will be run back and forth. But honestly, if Chris is going to run smack, then he's got a right to, because Florida State football is awful. And we'll get into that with Chris Whittyngham. He's going to join us at 10 o'clock. And then we've got some news to get into in and around the world that is. News out of Vancouver. We'll update you on that. And apparently there were some closed-door meetings with the Whitecaps' interests at heart. and we'll get you ready for the weekend as well. Once again, all the juice boxes, all the things, all the previews. We're going to be spending most of our time in the World Cupage, but we do have other things to get into, and we'll get into that as we go along here this morning. But Chris Whittyngham is going to join us to start hour number 2 after our hydration break. So we'll get into that coming up here. That's the morning rundown. Reminder, it is going to be Maddie and Drew and me from 5 to 6 at the mill at Etowah. And we're going to be inside Reformation. I think we're going to be in the air conditioning from 5 to 6. We're going to have the breakdown of everything that happened in the Bosnia-Herzegovina-Canada match, get you ready for what's going to be happening tonight in the matchup with the United States and Paraguay. That will be kind of kick things off. We have a hard out at 6 o'clock because from 6 to 8, Jason is going to have the pre-game show from Mazzy's in Duluth, Atlanta Soccer tonight, and it would be tonight because it's after 6 o'clock. So we're going from 5 to 6 on SDH socials and platforms. Then Jason will pick it up, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app at 6 o'clock. And that'll be what's going on there. And then after the match, the three-dimensional experience on 92.9 The Game, 92.9 The Game YouTube channel, it is going to be, oh, brother, it is going to be a late night. It's going to be a late night. So after the match in and of itself, 92.9 The Game Facebook page, and so just keep an eye out there for all of the reverb that comes after the match in Los Angeles. And then SDH AM Weekend Edition, 9:05 tomorrow morning. So what you might miss when you go to bed after the match is over, we'll pick it back up at 9:05 tomorrow morning. We are also, if I could get my upper plate to work, we are also going to be joined. We're taping the interview today because of all of the chaos and the craziness that's going on this time of year. We are also going to have an interview for you with the head soccer coach at Auburn University. And this way, we're going to find out about what happened when you had 88,000 plus in one location. James Armstrong, the head coach at Auburn, is going to be joining us. And that interview, we're taping it tonight. We're going to have him ready tomorrow. So in the morning show tomorrow, 9:05 across the network, James Armstrong is going to join us as a part of it. And we're going to sample what it's going to be like for the morning show to be on the weekends. So during the World Cup, that's where we are. We're going to have morning shows Saturday and Sunday. Monday, we haven't quite figured out yet. When we know, we'll let you know. Start time, length, all of that stuff. Because of Spain and Cabo Verde kicking off at noon on Monday at Atlanta Stadium, don't quite know what our start time is going to be and our length. But you'll hear from Luis de la Fuente and you'll hear from Cabo Verde because the MD-1s are on Sunday. So we'll have you ready for that. And we're going to take you through the weekend. But SDH AM Weekend Edition premiering during the World Cup, 9:05 tomorrow morning. It's going to be at least a power hour. We'll go for as long as we go. So Saturday, Sunday, 9:05 a.m. Eastern. You'll have your power hour and your SDH AM Weekend Edition. That's going to be going on during the tournament. So we're also joined by James Armstrong from Auburn. That'll be tomorrow morning on the morning show. So that's where we are. So this morning, we're getting into all the things. We're going to review all the things from yesterday, preview today, preview the weekend. Chris Whittyngham is going to be joining us at 10 o'clock. Kane versus Seminole, hour number 2. Be very wary. And then we'll get you ready for all the other news that's going on here in the world of soccer this morning. So now, all right, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Since it is a Friday, we're going to go here. There was talk, and the capacities, by the way, of all of the World Cup stadia came out. And I found it interesting that when it was announced, when you had the kickoff at the Estadio Azteca, the stadium formerly known as the Estadio Azteca, at least for 7 weeks anyway, that the capacity of the Estadio Azteca was 200 seats more than the Meadowlands. 200. And I can't say I'm surprised, but you had literally 200 seats, 200 more seats available at the Estadio Azteca that you would in other places. So you had, and I'm going to try and get the, all right, so stadium capacities. Here we go. So the 16 facilities, it was confirmed that you had 80,824 for Mexico City Stadium. But then, yeah, and then, so that's literally, it is 161 more. Sorry, not 200, 161 more than the Meadowlands. So, and that was just announced just as they were kicking off. One of the first things they said, oh, by the way, the capacity at the Estadio Azteca is about 200 more. It's 161 more. 80,824 to 80,663. So the Estadio Azteca has 161 more seats. Toronto Stadium, 43,036. BMO Field with the big expansion in the one end zone where if you're way the heck high up, you get a metal girder and you kind of get blocked from the part of the attacking, the middle third that you're staring at on your side of the pitch. So nothing like being way high up at BMO and staring at a metal girder. The stadium is not drawing raves, by the way. So, morning, Will, and morning, David. So there is a story, and once again, it's just a story and it's out there, but it will be an interesting opportunity to see activations and how national teams are responding to all of their fans. But there is a story going out there that there could be upwards of 30,000 Bosnian Herzegovinians that would be at this match this afternoon. They might be outside. They might have tickets. I don't know. But that was the story that was floated. 30,000 Bosnian Herzegovinians would be at Toronto Stadium, for this matchup this afternoon against Canada. Our friends at One Soccer attacked the topic, and the first voice you're going to hear is Andy Petrillo, and she's catching up with Oliver Platt, who is outside the stadium formerly known as BMO. And then you'll hear Gareth Wheeler on the back end of this. But this is how it was discussed, that this story was floating around out there for the matchup this afternoon. And it's safe to say, I think it's safe to say that Ollie wasn't buying it.
There's been so many reports here, Ollie, about how many Bosnian fans will actually be in attendance. Some are saying anywhere between 25 and 30,000. We know it's a big community. We know as well just traveling and making their way to Toronto for the game. And we know, I mean, rightfully so, Jesse Marsh wants the place to be painted red. But what kind of atmosphere are we expecting, and how many Bosnian fans can we expect?
Yeah, I think this stuff is all rubbish. I've been on the phone to the Bosnian embassy today, which I wasn't expecting to have to do pre-match before this game. They didn't get back to me, didn't pick up the phone, unfortunately. One Canadian journalist said he did get through by email, and they said they had nothing to do with this claim that's been made that's going around social media. According to the embassy, that there's going to be 30,000 Bosnians there tomorrow. I don't think it's true. We can't confirm it for sure. I asked FIFA, and they say they don't know who's bought tickets, right? It's not really possible for them outside of the supporters section specifically to know, which fans of which team have actually bought tickets. But it seemed a very far-fetched claim that stemmed from an Instagram account, a very small Instagram account, and then was kind of published more widely by a Bosnian football on Twitter or X. I don't think there's any truth to it, and it would be, it doesn't seem believable to me. It didn't pass the smell test, and it doesn't seem to be holding up to much scrutiny either.
Calling the embassy, that is reporting.
He said Wheels. He's a professional. Yeah, he did say rubbish. Maybe that's why they didn't answer.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow, that's for sure.
So maybe not. Maybe they'll just be outside the party, but Jesse Marsh wants the place to be red. Seats will be red, no matter how many people are in them. But at BMO, the stadium formerly known as BMO, or the field formerly known as BMO. 43,000, 30,000 Bosnians rumored to be there. So we'll see what it looks like middle of the afternoon when it comes to the activity for today's match. So since we are here, let's discuss Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Yes, obviously we're going to drift back and tell you what happened yesterday, but since we're here, let's talk about Bosnia-Herzegovina and Canada. And there are questions about what this lineup is going to look like. And Stephen Eustachio was with Jesse Marsh. And one of those questions, obviously, is at the back involving Moise Bombito. And whether or not Bombito and who is on the roster, this was one of the last decisions that was made. Jaden Nelson in for Marcelo Flores. And then what happened with the Bombito spot? They're sticking with Moise Bombito. So you might not and probably aren't going to have Bombito at the back starting in this match against Bosnia, where they love set pieces, and Edin Dzeko is at the age of 41, I believe, still making an impact for his home country. So Stephen Eustachio was asked about the possibility of Luc de Fougerolles, the 20-year-old, starting at the back and what it would mean when it came to the implementation of what Jesse Marsh wants to have that back line to do. So here is what Stephen Eustachio said about having a 20-year-old at the back later today.
I'm not concerned about Luke. I think the mentality he's shown so far for us really makes him fit our group very well. Our teammates call him a máquina because he really is. He is a really big machine. Physically, his mentality. I think he's young, but he shows a lot of experience in the pitch. So about Luke, I'm not concerned. Obviously, he's going to play against a very tough player with a lot of experience like Dzeko. But at the same time, I think he wants to prove that he's capable of playing at this level, and I think that's what he's going to do. And about the mentality, I think we feel confident for tomorrow, but at the same time, we're calm. We know it's going to be a tough game. Bosnia is a very experienced and a hard team to play against. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow things go our way, and we can use our weapons the best way possible.
Stephen Eustachio, when he was asked about the injuries and recovery in general, you're not going to have Davies available. Davies, according to our friend Christian Jack, has brought in his personal trainer from Bayern, and the national team was cool with this. So you're not going to have Davies. You're probably not going to have Bombito at the very least starting. And then Jesse Marsh in the press conference alluded to the idea of he'd love to have another, he'd wish that things were 2 weeks later. So you're looking at the health of those two. You're looking at Ali Ahmed. You're looking at Promise David. You're looking at Jacob Schaffelberg. You're looking at a lot of dinged up folks. And you're wondering what it's going to be and what you're going to be able to get from them when it comes to this matchup this afternoon in Toronto. Jesse Marsh was asked about now, this being the first time that he is in a World Cup as a coach and what it's like for him to be in this theater. Here's his answer, once again, courtesy of the Canadian men's national team and FIFA.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't get that nervous. I think my job is to prepare the players to know what it's going to require to go out on the pitch and do what they do. And so, if I think back to different experiences, whether it's, when I was an assistant at the World Cup, when it was Champions League, Premier League, Bundesliga, or Copa America here, like my focus and attention is always on the players and giving them the best opportunity to go out and be free, know their roles, and be themselves. And I think we've accomplished that here over and over again. I think that this team has always performed well since I've been here. And I think it's because of the quality they have, the character they have, and the clarity they have on the pitch. So that'll be key again for tomorrow.
Jesse Marsh discussing what it's going to be at the MD-1s as Canada gets ready for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And let's see here. Hang on. All right. So I think I got it. Here we go. All right. So that's what you're looking at with Canada as they get ready for Bosnia and Herzegovina. The juice boxes in this one, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, in the international championship, as they phrase it. It is Canada at home is a minus 120. They call it the World Championship. Minus 120 for Canada. 90-minute draws a plus 260. Bosnia and Herzegovina is a plus 380. It is in Picks of the Week in the Discord, and we had Bosnia and Herzegovina at plus 380. The numbers really haven't changed a whole lot. Canada started Wednesday at a minus 122. Hasn't changed all that much. So that's been pretty much a static number for Bosnia and Herzegovina going into this matchup, and with Canada going into this matchup at the field formerly known as BMO later this afternoon, listed at 3 o'clock. 9 o'clock tonight, as always, USA and Paraguay. USA, they are at a plus 110. Draws a plus 225. Paraguay is a plus 290. And this is where we get our Julio Enciso update. And we'll find out what the latest is with him and his recovery on the contusion. This time 12 hours ago. So Enciso trained alongside the group, and it looks like he may start. This is coming from Nico Vignier, one of the anchors for ESPN Argentina. So Enciso may actually start, set to start. So it's looking like Orlando Gil, Cáceres, Gomez, Alderete, Junior Alonso, the back four. Diego Gomez, Bobadilla, Andres Cubas, and Almiron in your midfield, and Enciso and Sanabria up top. So it is looking like Enciso is set to start. How many minutes? Don't know. But we'll look at that coming up here in a bit. Also on the board, what I wanted to do was get into the experience and the vibe from outside the markets. And these are the places where folks are setting up camp. They're not going to be playing there, but it's been really cool to see the immersive experience from a lot of the communities. We saw it with Chattanooga and with the Spanish national team, and we were getting to see it in another couple of places. I'll give you two examples. One is at FAU, and this comes courtesy of our friends at WPBF TV in West Palm. And it was the opportunity for Curacao to have their open community practice. So here are the early returns from Yanni Caracas at WPBF, what it was like to have Curacao at FAU.
Welcome to Flagler Credit Union Stadium on the campus of FAU. I'm Yanni Caracas, and Curacao ahead of their first ever World Cup appearance, making history as the smallest nation to qualify, hosting an open practice in front of 5,000 lucky fans who got to watch Curacao for free. Fans lining up outside FAU Stadium waiting to support Curacao, many from the small Caribbean island of just over 150,000 people. When you found out that they'd be here and you're local, what did you think?
I was so excited. She sent me the link and I was like, no way, they're gonna be so close to me. I have to make it, so that's why I'm here.
So I'm excited for our country, for our team, for our population, just in general, I'm just super excited.
On the pitch, the team went through possession and shooting drills, putting on a nice show for the fans, while some youth players even got to partake at the end of the session. The players certainly appreciating the support.
I think all of us were quite surprised. I think just to see the Curacao flag out there, just to see the people, wearing the Curacao, and just to see how many people from, supporting us is just amazing.
Curacao players telling me they're trying to enjoy this historic moment, Curacao on the game's biggest stage for the first time. But they also realize they have a golden opportunity to shock the world.
I think it's possible. We're here, the smallest nation to ever make it. So we've already made the impossible possible. So we know that with the belief, with the faith, we can achieve more.
It's been a long journey for us. A couple of years ago, people would say it's impossible for us to make it to the World Cup. And now we made it. And it was a long journey, but we always had faith in it. And I think we also showed in the games we played that we can compete with bigger countries.
So that's what it's like at FAU for Curacao. Here's the other example that I wanted to let you in on. And I know that there are some folks that, might be giving these markets a little bit of guff because of hosting and so on. Video came out earlier this week when Algeria landed and was making their way to Lawrence, Kansas. And stills and smack running happened and all this kind of stuff where, the Algerian national team, they're in a hotel in Lawrence, Kansas, and there had been, fencing and everything put up. and they had one half of the hotel. The other half of the hotel was still up for normal business, and you had some of the patrons who were going into the hotel as, you know, normal folks wanting to stay at a mid-priced hotel in Lawrence, Kansas. They're wondering what's going on. And so there were a lot of folks posting a picture, hey, they're in Lawrence, Kansas, you know, snap, snap. And, you know, they're in this hotel. But there's been a lot more to it. And it's been really cool to see, and it's no surprise, that you had folks standing outside the hotel welcoming the buses as they were coming in. And you had Algerians who were there, whether they were native to the Midwest or had made the trip. They're standing outside on the curb and they're waiting for the bus to come through, and they're sitting there and they're waving at the bus and waving at the players and all this kind of stuff. And they had their open practice at KU. Once again, big crowd. And there was an element of this that I think a lot of folks in the Midwest will not forget. And I'm pretty damn sure the Algerians won't forget it either. Here's the open practice story from KU, from Harold Kuntz at Fox 4 Kansas City. And you're going to see what I mean here when it comes to embracing the entire process and what it meant to the Algerian community to be in Lawrence at KU.
Who would have thought when we learned about the base camps that the most exciting one would be right here in Lawrence, Algeria? You may know it as Lawrence, Kansas. The college community here for the Jayhawks has truly embraced the Algerian national team. 1, 2, 3, viva l'Algérie!
Rock Chalk, Algeria.
They filled up Rock Chalk Park.
Being able to watch professional football players do it right in front of my eyes is unbelievable.
Chants, singing, just so much like love for the game. It was honestly absolutely like amazing to see.
It's just great to see how many people are coming here to support Algeria. You know, I don't know if people were fans before this, but it's great seeing people come around the team.
They came to watch even if it was domestic.
We have a community that supports soccer, supports KU, supports the program, and like we saw that tonight.
I'm so proud, man. I mean, usually go to Algeria every summer just for vacation and see that. I traveled to the team one time, like a couple of weeks ago, a couple $1,000, but having him here is like a dream come true now, especially like in Kansas.
Or they came from Algeria to watch.
I think you have a good team for Algerian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like the fact that they're staying here in a small city?
Yeah, it's good.
Good. What do you think about this small city charm? You know, like
it's very nice.
Of course, Riyad Mahrez is one of the favorite players of Algeria. He's well known worldwide, and plenty of others.
It's surreal. It's surreal. I mean, I've watched some of them on Saturday morning television. Some of the very famous players in the world.
They were on campus today, right? They were out in Fieldhouse. They were on campus. It's just crazy to see that.
And this team is quite confident as they enter World Cup play. They won a friendly in Netherlands 1-0 and also just beat Bolivia at CPKC Stadium in a closed-door friendly 4-0. Next up for them, Argentina at Arrowhead. Here in Lawrence, Kansas, Harold Kuntz, Fox 4 Sports.
The fact that, and this does not surprise me considering the collegiate environments that we are in and around, the fact that the KU band learned the Algerian national anthem and played it for them as they were having the procession to go out onto the pitch for their public practice at KU at Rock Chalk Park. That's the kind of stuff that makes this tournament special and makes these kinds of tournaments special. When you have fans coming in from all around the planet, you know, when you have moments in Guadalajara involving fans of the Korea Republic and fans of Mexico. They're all in the same building. And then, and this is also out there on social media, Gangnam Style pops up on the TV in the restaurant where fans from both sides are positioned having their meals. And instead of giving the Korea Republic fans a load of ish, the Mexico fans were good sports about it. They dove in and they're sitting there and they're singing and they're dancing along as a part of the whole thing. When Korea Republic fans had their adult beverages, and they found out that they couldn't take them inside the stadium formerly known as Estadio Azteca, and had to consume the beverage. He had two choices. You either throw it away or you consume it before you walk in. And you end up with the fans of both Korea Republic and of Mexico trying to finish off this rather large bottle of an adult beverage that was purchased in Guadalajara. It is some of the most hurried shot taking I've seen short of a college campus. I mean, there was some serious work going on. So fans of both teams, and the Mexico fans, hey man, we'll help you out. And so they come up, you get the plastic cups, and they're working this bottle that was about 12 inches tall. They're trying to finish it off and make sure that everything is going to be okay for everyone to walk in the building. I'm just hoping that the Korea Republic fans invested in carbs and made their way in before they missed most of the match. But these kinds of moments kind of personify these tournaments. But yeah, when you have Chattanooga show up for the Spanish national team, when you have Lawrence, Kansas, and you have the KU band learning the Algeria national anthem, and when you have, fans helping out fans in Guadalajara, that's what this is all about. What it's going to be like here in SDH HQ over the next 8 opportunities. It's going to be fun. Embrace it. Congratulations to our Kevin Egan, our buddy Kevin Egan. I believe the Irish Exit opens this evening. Big opening ceremonies there tonight. So if you are going to be a part of all of this, regardless of where, if you're at your local establishment, if you're too far away from a venue, if the venue has outpriced any kind of experience, and if you're just going to experience it at home in your neighborhood, if you're going to go experience it in another city, if you're going to be on the road, you're going to do whatever. Remember these experiences and these interactions. You go to Decatur Watch Fest. You go to like the 9,000 things that are going on here in the city. Wherever you go and appreciate what's happening here for the next 6 weeks. Remember these experiences. Bring everybody along for the ride with you. Give the good-natured ish. Take good-natured ish back. The give and take is fine. The official term, don't be a honk about it. Enjoy the experience. Share. Bring everybody along for the ride. You don't know who their fandom is from. You don't know where they're plugged in. Embrace everyone because this is going to be fun. So you end up with moments like what we've seen. And I'm going to continue to keep an eye on these practices and things like that and all of these local opportunities where you see folks embracing what's going on. I mean, you had the Uzbekistan national team up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. They had their interaction with fans the other day as they're getting ready for their tour. That's what this stuff's all about. Remember these kinds of stories and remember how much fun it's going to be to be in these kinds of environments going forward. So, like I said, I'm going to continue kind of keeping an eye on things when it comes to practices and all these opportunities and things like that. But no, we'll keep an eye on stuff and we'll kind of continue to share experiences here on the morning show and let you know what we see. And if there's something that we miss, obviously let us know so we can dive into it and we can share it with everybody else. All right. So that gets us to yesterday, technically. We have the Pochettino sound, and that's going to exist, so that's not going anywhere. So that we've got the Pochettino sound, and we have the AST rewind about what to watch for, and our morning news. Chris Whittyngham set to join us after the hydration break in about 20 minutes. So yesterday we had our 2 matches to start, and I think the one thing that will set you up more than anything is the idea that if you thought you knew what was going to happen, you might be wrong. And you had yesterday a 4-hour pregame show, opening ceremonies. You had a 4-hour opening ceremony, people. Mexico and South Africa. Mexico went in at a minus 233, no surprise. Plus 340 for the draw. South Africa came in at a plus 750. Thought with the defense, with the Aaron Wan-Bissaka at the back, it might be a day where Mexico would have to kind of struggle to get the engine turned over. South Africa helped them out with an opportunity in the 9th minute. Mexico gets on the board, and it's 1-0 before you know it. And that's the kind of boost that you're looking for. As a home team tonight, specifically, what happens if it takes a little while for the U.S. engine to turn over? The longer that you keep Paraguay in the game, the longer that you do that, what's the vibe going to be like in the stadium currently known as SoFi? Goal by Quinones in the 9th minute, 1-0 at the break. And then you end up with goal by Raul Jimenez in the 67th. That was the goal that they've been chasing for a long time. They had so many opportunities to chase after that second goal, and you're hitting posts, and it's just not happening for you. And I'm wondering, at the back of their minds, okay, where's that black cloud? Where's the dark cloud coming? And Jimenez gets the goal in the second half. South Africa, by the way, had to play most of the second half down to 10, and they even played the final 6+. I think it was 6+7, down to 9. Two red cards. Sefelo Sithole in the 49th. Temba Zwane, who had been in the sum total of 23 minutes, got a red. And so Sithole and Zwane will not be available for match number 2, and neither will Cesar Montes. Cesar Montes, the captain yesterday for El Tri, puts out a hip check just outside the 18 at 90+2 and gets a red card. So no Cesar Montes in match number 2 for El Tri. Possession 60-40, 4 shots on goal for Mexico. No big chances created, 2 saves each, 23 fouls in the day, 12-11 was the margin. But once again, 2 red cards for South Africa, 1 red card for Mexico. Actually, let me check that. Here's the number. Shots on goal, 4-2. Shots 16-3 and 5 blocks. And you had 90% completion in your passing for Mexico, 81% for South Africa. They also had almost half as many passes. 272 at 334 compared to 40% less passes. 467 at 520 for Mexico. 31 long balls accurate for Mexico, 17 for South Africa. So that's the abridged version of what happened yesterday. And goals by Quinones and Jimenez. So individual statistics and all that. Let me get into some of the deeper numbers, because the first place I went looking for stats wasn't all that deep. So I need deeper numbers is what I need. So let's see if we can find some deeper numbers here. Come on. No, I don't want that. Come on now. All right. So if we go here, I'm going to see how long SofaScore is dialed up before it starts to freak out on me. So with the 2-0 win, once again, no Montes in the next round. And that one, I'm intrigued to see how this lays itself out. But the stats on the board in this one, XG 1.46 to 0.007. Sorry. 16-3 total shots, 2 big chances for Mexico. This is a lot better. 23 fouls, 12 for Mexico, 11 for South Africa. Tackles 14-12 for South Africa. Free kicks 12-11. And you had, of the 16 total shots, 4 on target. 1 hit the woodwork. I thought it was more than that, but that's just me. 7 shots off target compared to 1. 5 blocks compared to none. 9 shots inside the 18 for Mexico compared to 1 for South Africa. 7 shots outside the 18 compared to 2. 20 touches inside the opposition 18 compared to 2. And your duels, about 55-45. It wasn't bad. 32-26 in the overall. passes in the final third, 83, completing 78% of 107, and then 45% for South Africa, 25 out of 56, 31-17 in long balls, 4 crosses successful compared to 1, 2 saves on each side. I thought it was more than that for Williams specifically. Clearances 17-15, South Africa. Recoveries 44-40, South Africa. I thought it was a lot more than that. Some of these numbers don't. Okay, so that's the numbers you'd think for last 12 years. Ronwin Williams. Okay, so I've dialed him up specifically. Keeping numbers: 2 saves, 1 save inside the box, 1 punch clear, 1 run out, 2 high claims, and obviously a negative XGOT for Ronwin Williams, who's been in net for the last 12 years for the South African national team. 11 recoveries, 3 clears, a pick, and 4 defensive contributions for Williams on the evening. I think 2 saves is being well underselling the evening that he had and had to have, because that pass in the 9th minute, once again, Mexico pounces. They take advantage of it, and you're up 1-0 in 9 minutes. That's what you're, I think, looking for the United States coming up tonight against Paraguay. You're looking for the opportunity to get an early goal, lead in your own building, kind of give yourself the opportunity to breathe a little bit. That's what you're hunting for in this one. Just breathe a little bit. And so Mexico gets a comfortable win. Montez Red, I think, is going to that one's going to leave a bit of a mark. Like I said, I want to know how Aguirre wants to restructure the back line now that he won't have Montez in match number 2. South Africa was a plus 750 going into this one. You kind of saw why. You're wondering where the offense is going to come from, and they're going to be in trouble, I think. They were not one of the 8 third-place teams that I had going in. I figured they were going to be last in the group. Yesterday probably reinforced that a little bit. Second match was late night, and, well, late night kind of. I mean, it wasn't necessarily later than late night, but it was a come-from-behind win for Korea Republic over Czechia. Ladislav Krejci scored with 30 to go. Then Hwang In-beom with one of the big switch break moves already of the tournament. 8 minutes later, 1-1, and then Oh Yeon-ju scores with 10 minutes to go. Korea Republic gets a big win in the group to go over Czechia 2-1. And we had questions about Korea Republic, because remember when we had Landon Southwick on last week, after Korea Republic had their 2 matches at BYU, they handled Trinidad and Tobago. They struggled against El Salvador. And as I said yesterday when we were at Reformation, I didn't know if that second match against El Salvador was more El Salvador than it was El Salvador doing well as opposed to Korea Republic doing poorly. And I was thinking initially that it might be the latter. It might be the latter. So it took a while for Korea Republic to kind of get into this and get the caffeine and get the pot of coffee going. But when they did, it was in the final 25 minutes. They get the 2 goals on the board, and they end up getting the big win in one of those matches that you're sitting there going, this one's going to be pretty tight. Juice boxes going in. South Korea was a plus 160. Draw was a plus 210, and Czechia was a plus 200. That one was in picks of the week. I had a draw because it was at a plus 215. I thought they would be fairly even, and I was right for 80 minutes. But that's why matches are 90. So Korea Republic, win. Mexico, win. So that's where we are coming out of day number 1. And then once again today, it is the World Championship, 3 o'clock at the stadium formerly known as BMO. Canada, Bosnia, Herzegovina numbers really not moving a whole lot. And then tonight, 9 o'clock at the stadium formerly known as SoFi, the U.S. and Paraguay. Julio Enciso set to start. So with that, here is our AST Rewind. And for those of you that may not know when it dials up, it's an opportunity to catch up with Jason and his thoughts and anything and everything going on involving the world that we are watching on a daily basis. And so don't forget, if you have not yet signed up for Morning Espresso, the newsletter that we put out that Jason pours over and pieces it all together and has all the news fit to print that we can also kind of lean into a little bit deeper. So it's Morning Espresso. Go to soccerdownhere.net. Right there on the main page, you scroll down a little bit. There's a box. You subscribe. You get the morning newsletter at soccerdownhere.net. And you get Morning Espresso delivered right to your inbox, people. Right to your inbox, where you get to find out anything and everything going on this or any other planet that comes across Jason's desk. And it is one of those opportunities where we all get smart to start our day once again at Morning Espresso at soccerdownhere.net. Now, here's AST Rewind for you. And when we have all the things going on simultaneously, everything going on simultaneously, what do you want to watch for? This is the W2, W4 for this matchup tonight involving the USA and Paraguay. So Jason was kind of thinking about the bench. And so here's the conversation that Jason and Maddie had, our number one last night of Atlanta Soccer Tonight, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app.
Things that we want to see from this team on the field. I mean, it can be really any different kind of way to describe this. The one that I'll start with is that right side, and it kind of builds off of what we've talked about with Alex Freeman at right center back and Serginho Dest at the right wing back spot. I want to see this team with the ball high up the field so Dest and Freeman can be a problem for Paraguay, because if they do what I'm expecting, which would be a line of 5 or a 4-5-1, really getting 9 guys deep behind the ball, the movement, the 1v1s is going to be key, but I think the extra player getting forward, and Freeman and Dest have had a really good relationship where at times Dest has cut inside and Freeman has stayed wide. At times it's been the other way around. Freeman reads the game really well and makes the opposite movement. So, and it's unpredictable. I think those two on that right side, especially getting them high up the field to where they almost turn into wingers and midfielders, that's going to be key for this U.S. team tomorrow. What about you, Maddie?
Yeah, for what I want to see tomorrow, and this goes back to, again, as anyone who knows me and how I talk about the game and things that I really like to hone in on, I really like talking especially about backlines and how important they are, I think, especially in this case. I think for the U.S., it's kind of a question mark. I mean, if you can get Chris Richards back, if Chris Richards is back and he is playing in this matchup against Paraguay, or even if not, I think having him back is huge. So for me, especially in that back line, Paraguay is a team that it might sit back a little bit, but when they get the opportunity to attack, they can hurt you. And I think for the U.S., you got to make sure that you're staying strong. You got to make sure that you're watching those movements. In that matchup against Germany, that second goal was conceded kind of in a moment where you lost a little bit of that concentration. It did come from a kind of shift change as well, but I think you've got to stay focused, because one of those moments can come back and hurt you. So I think that back line especially, got to make sure that you're staying strong, got to make sure that you're on at all times, especially against a team like Paraguay.
And we went over what the anticipated lineup is going to be for Paraguay. Julio Enciso apparently is well enough to start. So that 4-4-2 is going to be for Alfaro. It's going to be a pain in the butt to deal with. You would anticipate Miguel Almiron set to start, so we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. That'll be also in the separate spot shadows. Matias Galarza in the roster, and Miguel Almiron to pay attention to. Julio Enciso set to start. So this is not your mom's or dad's opening round matchup. USA to plus 110, favored, but on the plus side. Draws to plus 225. And Paraguay is a plus 290 to win at the stadium formerly known as SoFi this evening, 9 o'clock Eastern kick. So that's where we are with those matchups. USA starting lineup. We'll ask Chris Whittyngham what he thinks coming up in just a little bit. How big a day is this? Are we underselling it? Even as we say it's a big day, are we still underselling how big a day this is? Chris Richards apparently got the good housekeeping seal of approval. He's ready to go. So like I just said, we'll hear from Mauricio Pochettino on the flip side here of the Chris Whittyngham checking in for the first time in a long time. It is bordering the top of the hour, so we might go ahead and take it a little early just because of momentum. Ball's out of play, so we'll go ahead and take it here. Here's your hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. 2 locations, Cobb Parkway and in Johns Creek. Once again, thanks to our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores for being great partners with us here as 2026. We got to catch up on yesterday, day 1 of a 4-hour opening ceremony that led into a match at the Estadio formerly known as Azteca, and then the nightcap in Guadalajara. We went over those 2 matches, the concerns for both of those teams, for the teams that started the whole tournament going forward. No Montez, no 2 midfielders for South Africa, and Hugo Bros for matchup number 2. Nightcap, big win for Korea Republic as they come back from 1-0 down, and they get the win over Czechia. Czechia had a 1-0 lead. Korea Republic goes back to win it by the score of 2-1, so a big day for them in their group. And got to find out a little bit about Canada and the men's national team and what they are anticipating rolling into BMO Stadium, at least for another 5 hours. When the lights come on, kickoff starts at, I guess it's officially Toronto Stadium. So it's BMO until they play. And then we'll flip our ideas. And so we'll see what happens there. So Jesse Marsh ready to go. Stephen Eustachio not concerned. A lot of injuries. Canada dinged. And they are dinged up. How will they respond for this matchup? What's the lineup going to look like? How many minutes? Those are what I'm going to be staring at when it comes to Canada and the men's national team getting ready for everything that is starting off at 3 o'clock today, Eastern time. Very important time for Canada soccer since they have also signed Jesse Marsh to an extension and the tournament hadn't even started yet. Like I said, after Chris Whittyngham, we'll catch up with Mauricio Pochettino and get his thoughts on the MD-1s, and we'll preview the weekend. We're going to go through all the weekend matchups, go through the juice boxes there, and what you might be staring at when it comes to all of those games. That'll be part of what to watch, where to watch, how to watch it. Then we'll get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo. There was a meeting in Vancouver involving Major League Soccer folks. Apparently, wasn't necessarily made public, but apparently there were some folks in the front office for Major League Soccer that were meeting with folks inside Vancouver leading into the tournament that we are going to be talking about a lot for the next 6 weeks. But those discussions, we'll get into that courtesy of our friends at in Vancouver. So big days in Vancouver, big days in Montreal for different reasons than what's going on the field of play. But Vancouver apparently had meetings yesterday, and we'll get into that also in hour number 2. That is your hydration break brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor. 2 locations here in the Atlanta area, Johns Creek and Cumberland, Cobb Parkway. Once again, local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor. Get all your stuff from them. If you are in the area, get all your stuff from local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores at Johns Creek and in Cumberland. Once again, great partners with us here at SDH starting here in 2026. Glad to have them aboard. Also glad to have NSBN aboard because apparently we are now on their big screens in the office in the morning. So it's always good to catch up with our friend Gabe Schrei when he gets to let us know what's going on involving the world of the USL. National Sports Network, now new partners with us here on the SDH network. So you need to like, friend, and be a part of the conversation at the National Sports Network at NSBN Sports. NSBN Sports, once again, tied to Midwest Sports Network, Southeast Sports Network, the national version, NSBNsports.com. NSBN is where we have started broadcasting here in June. So once again, thanks to them for being great partners with us here. Morning, Alex. And we'll get into all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and all the stuff that you might need to know going forward when it comes to everything today. So just to give you an idea tonight, just to get where we all are, it is going to be all kinds of crazy. So just to let you know, once again, recapping where we are, it is going to be 6 to 8. Well, we're going 5 to 6 from Reformation. 5 to 6 from Reformation is where we will be breaking everything down about what happened earlier today with Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina. I say earlier today because at 5 o'clock, it will have been earlier today. Match will have ended 5 to 6. We're at Reformation to put a cap on that one, preview the U.S. match. We got to be out by 6. Jason, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. He is going to be at Mazzy's in Duluth. He's going to be previewing the USMNT match. So he'll be the pre-game for the USMNT match. He's out at 8 o'clock. Pre-game starts, and then it is U.S. and Paraguay, 9 o'clock at the stadium, currently still known as SoFi. And apparently, if you go to Mazzy's in Duluth, you get a shot at winning tickets to a match here in Atlanta at Atlanta Stadium, courtesy of our friends at Mick Ultra. So, and then post-game, late. Apparently, Jason's also going to be on ANF's Overtime at 7:30 previewing the match as well. So he's going to be kind of busy. Speaking of busy, how's that for a transition? Like I said, when Hurricanes and Seminoles get into the same room together, you wonder how it's going to be. But we welcome, as we always do, Chris Whittyngham, the Cane in this conversation. How are you, my friend?
Very good, and I do apologize for being a Miami Hurricane if that offends you.
Well, I'm a Seminole. It's not the offending part. It's just that we all know where this rivalry goes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I was, and this will date me. I was in the building when everyone and their mother knew that Danny McManus was going to throw the 2-point conversion to Pat Carter in the corner of the end zone at Doak Campbell. And you had these two dudes who were brothers, the Blades brothers, and they double team Pat Carter, and you won 26-25, and we all went home sad. So
what year was that?
1842.
Yeah, I didn't grow up a massive college football fan, but I went to the University of Miami, so I ended up, obviously, you get thrown into that, and yeah. I remember really when I was sort of at my peak of my college football fandom, this rivalry was an awful one for the University of Miami. We lost every single year, and thankfully that has turned.
Yeah, I need a band with a rim shot because I knew all this stuff was coming. Because everyone around me these days knows how awful we are.
Yeah,
and how I have been yelling from every mountaintop about, look, I will crowdfund the buyout for Mike Norvell. I've been doing this for 2 years. I am so over it. It's not even funny. And this year's game, I had to sequester in a hotel room. The Miami Florida State game, I was sequestered in a hotel room. And you know how folks are. We have our WhatsApp chats and all this kind of stuff. We have our own SDH WhatsApp chat, and I literally was typing for 4 hours in all caps as to how mad I was the entire time. That's how bad it has gotten for us. That is how bad it is in general. And then when I have to go, look, full disclosure, Chris, the boss is, and I think this is the only reason that we've stayed married as long as we have. We have cleared 13 years. And she is an SEC alumna, and I am an ACC alumnus. I think because we are cross-conference is the only reason that our marriage has survived as long as it has. Because if we were same conference, if we were two SEC people from different schools, I don't know if we would have gotten married. But because we're in separate conferences, we're okay. But I still can't wear, no offense, I can't wear anything orange. I literally can't, because my skin will break out. I get in a rash. So if she gives me, because her colors are orange and blue, which reminds me of the University of South Georgia Gainesville campus, which I know you hate just as equally. So we have a commonality there. That Venn diagram is there.
Yes.
So I have to wear a shirt underneath anything that she gives me that has orange and blue on it. So, and literally it has to cover up every part of that space. Otherwise I break it. That's where I am right.
That's how you feel it. I actually kind of thought, to bring it back to soccer if I can.
Come on. What do you want?
So I thought that experience is going to be valuable when I went over to the UK for the first time. And the biggest difference, I would say, is that there is commingling between incredibly fan bases with lots of animus. Whereas I feel like in the UK, that's just like it just doesn't happen. You go to a game, and I went with a friend who's also a fellow massive University of Miami fan, and he thought because, University of Miami fans and FSU fans sit together at rivalry games, that is doable. Yeah, there are lots of fights, but it's doable. But in London, it is a no-fly zone. No-fly zone if you go and sit in the home section as a non-home fan. It's like literally no is the answer. I remember we went to this bar at Watford. Watford, hardly a place known for hooliganism. And yet you go across the street and there was this bar that we wanted to walk into, and my friend had a beanie of the opposition team.
Oh, no.
Put the beanie on.
No.
And the guy at the front door put his hand in his chest and said, no. Not, no, take the beanie off. No, you need to go find another place because this place does not welcome you. So that I would say is the major difference between college football culture in the United States and soccer culture abroad.
Yes. So I guess since this is something of a soccer morning show, but since we always go sideways because my brain is like a golden retriever, how big is tonight? Are we underselling how big tonight is for the U.S. men's national team?
I don't know if we're underselling. I don't know if you're underselling it, but I'm certainly not. I think it is one of these things where it completely dictates the feeling in the country around this team. And I think, even for example, I was on a flight yesterday. We're covering, I'm working for CBS. We're going to cover the U.S. men's national team game from the Power and Light District in Kansas City.
Right on.
And it's going to be great. There's going to be a huge crowd. People are going to come around. But I was still, yesterday on the flight, I had World Cup fever. I was sitting down, and I was annoyed that I decided to pick a flight during the Mexico game. I'm an idiot. And so I sat down. I'm holding my phone. Once we get into the in-flight service, I open up my iPad. I stream the game, and I'm fired up. And I'm thinking that everyone around me, it's going to be like, I don't know if you've seen those pictures of there's a flight going to New York where every single in-flight television has the Knicks game on it, except for there's one guy who's watching Avatar, which I thought was very funny. But yeah, so everyone is watching. No one on my flight was like, I gotta get on my phone, I gotta get on my tablet to watch the Mexico-South Africa game at 3 p.m. There isn't that quite level of World Cup fever yet. And the United States has a vial of World Cup fever. And the question is, do they open it and spill it onto the country, or do they not? Because if they draw, or they kind of play a lackluster game, or they don't get a result that maybe is the best result, I think that that's going on. If they win, if they score goals, if they play well, if they give the nation a sense of hope that maybe a deep run is there to be made, I really do think that opens up that vial of World Cup fever. And I think the United States sort of carries that single burden on their shoulders, and they always do. And I almost wonder if they recognize it, or if they can't really, because it would be so distracting. It would be such a burden of pressure. But yeah, I think they carry that amount of pressure on their shoulders to try and get the country behind them. Because if the United States are good, world events like the Olympics, even the World Sevens, and other kinds of events that are international, they get going because people love throwing the flag on their shoulders and getting excited. So yeah, I really do think that it is a massive game in that respect. If they win and play well, we're off and running.
The only thing I think missing during that was me just kind of humming the Battle Hymn of the Republic underneath you. I mean, when you look at this matchup tonight, and when you look at this group that the U.S. is in, this is not something where you can sit there and go, oh yeah, they can Christmas tree their way through this one. You're playing Paraguay in the first one. I want to know who the athletic director was that drew Turkey in the last match of the group stage. It's and your third one is Turkey. Who drew this up? I mean, you don't want Turkey as your last game in the group stage to go into the knockouts. This is not a group that you can sneeze at and sit there and take anything for granted.
Yeah, I think you want to get the job done by match day 3. You don't want to need something from Turkey. I think if you have 4 points by the time you get to Turkey, you're in a good position. Realistically, again, this is judging on the basis of the United States being at home. the United States should get 6 points in the first 2 games. And I don't think that is necessarily disrespecting opposition. Australia, and that will be the big talking point going into the Australia game, is they feel massively disrespected. And the Australian media has taken every available opportunity to remind the players and the coaches of said disrespect. Their questions are all about, hey, you hear that American pundit who says you're the easy team to play? I think that is a massive part of the storyline as it relates to Australia. But that being said, it is still a nation that the United States has beaten before and can beat again, and I think has more talent than. And so I think you have to go into this game. Paraguay, I think, are a solid team. I tried to watch as much video as I could on them. I think they rely a lot on Julio Enciso, who is an injury doubt for the game, and they rely a lot on Diego Gomez, who we know covering MLS, played really well for Inter Miami, gets to move over to the Premier League and has kicked on from there. He, I think, is without question their best player. Other than that, they're relying on how defensively solid they are, and I think the United States has more talent than them, and they're playing at home. And so this should be not a routine victory, but a victory. It should be a level of talent difference. And the United States now can say that at games at the World Cup. It used to not be able to do that. But now there is a talent difference between what the United States can deliver, and we have seen a level of attacking prowess. We saw the 3 goals against Senegal. We saw good chances created against Germany. We see a level of chemistry and connection, and I think of an idea of how to be progressive in the game with the United States. So I think, to your point, I think they have to get to that Turkey game, which, by the way, I don't think they're completely outmanned in. I think they're probably about on the level. If you look at what Hakan Çalhanoğlu is in midfield, Kenan Yıldız and Arda Güler is probably a level above what the U.S. have, but the rest of the team, I would say, is roughly on level footing. I'm kind of fascinating how that matchup will play out. But yeah, I think if the U.S. gets to that stage with the points in hand needed to get through to the next round, I think that would be incredibly big for them, especially when now you can sort of make that step in that game of thinking about winning the group, because I do think the path is a little bit more straightforward by winning the group as opposed to finishing as runner-up.
So then where the U.S. M&T is, are you the most confident about heading into this matchup, and what still concerns you about tonight?
So my biggest area of confidence would be sort of the flow and the rhythm that they have in attacking areas, which has been sort of the thing that we've been looking for the longest time. But I think there is a genuine connection between that front 3, whatever it may be. I like how Sergiño Dest gets forward down that right side. I like when they have the ball, how they get it forward and they get into dangerous areas and they can control periods of the game with possession. The sort of flip side of that, I think, is when they don't control the game with possession. I see a team, and even against Germany, even when they were able to survive, I saw a team that still was struggling with any time Germany got the ball into the final third. I'm still not confident in their ability to deal with it. I think they sink too deep, and there are too many gaps. And I just see high-level teams being able to play through the United States fairly easily. Now, it is kind of difficult to say that given you look at the 2 goals that Germany scored in the game, and one is from a set piece, and the second was kind of a bit of a one-off, but I just don't think the United States defend aggressively enough in their own box. They're not getting touch tight. They're not closing down quickly enough. I just don't have the confidence in what they look like when they're defending against the ball with numbers behind the ball. I think they're too gappy. I think they give up too many goals, and I don't necessarily have a massive amount of confidence that the goalkeeper is going to bail them out like they've relied upon for decades. Going all the way back to Tony Meola, into Casey Keller and Tim Howard, all those guys have bailed out the United States in moments, and I don't think that the United States is bad at the position. I think that's probably an overstated area of concern, goalkeeper, but I don't think that they're great at the position either. And so I think that the sort of level of bailout that they've gotten in the past, they're not going to get. So, yeah, I think I don't think that this is a defensively good team. And I think they can do well in games in which it's not a problem, but I think in the games that you come up against higher level opposition where, if they win the group, the most likely path is they play Belgium in the last 16. We saw that already. We saw what Jeremy Doku can do to a U.S. defense. Chris Richards is going to have to step up to a level, and all these guys have to step up to a level that I'm not certain they have in them.
Chris Whittyngham, before he goes to sample all of the barbecue and the large steaks that he possibly can in the P&L district when he heads to Kansas City, hanging out with us here on the morning show. So you opened up 2 doors for me. One, does your gut tell you, is it Matt Freese or is it Matt Turner? Which one is going to matter most in match day 1?
I'm probably going to go Freeze. I think the evidence that he got the 90 minutes against Germany suggests that he was the number one. I think it is odd that he played all three goalkeepers in the warm-ups, but I think Freeze has done enough to hold down that position. I like him as sort of being the most solid option. I think Turner probably has a higher ceiling on the evidence of what we've seen from him in MLS and his level of performance for New England, both this season and the first time round. But I think Freeze, that the time that he had as the number one was good enough to suggest that he keeps the role.
And he actually gets to play in something that is not 106 by 68 when he actually gets to leave something other than what goes on in the Bronx. Did I just say that? I think I just did. Hey, Peter Vermes measured it at 106 by 68, and that's what I'm going with. Now the back line. Since we've solved the keeping question, we go to the back line. Chris Richards was given the official okie doke, and that is huge beyond huge because that kind of settles things down in that back line. When you have seen Chris Richards and how he has grown to where he is right now, what's it been like to see him and how integral he has become for that back line for the U.S.?
I mean, it's enormous. I think he's probably the one high-level center back that we've developed for quite a long time. I mean, Tim Ream has been, sort of up and down with the national team. At times he's played out at left back, but he sort of had an up and down period. I think Richards is rock solid, and that goes as well with Crystal Palace in the Premier League as well. I think it's interesting that Palace play a little bit of a different style. It's not as much playing out from the back and asking him to do things with the ball. But that being said, I still think he's the most important cog of the team. Next to Tyler Adams, I would say. If Tyler Adams went out, then that's such a massive cog too. But I think those two players are the most important to the team by miles. If Christian Pulisic went out, it would be bad, but you could throw Tim Weah in there off the left wing and expect a reasonable level of performance. If Flo Balogun went out, Ricardo Pepi could replace him. If Anthony Robinson went out, you're not feeling great about Max Armstrong playing, but he can do the job. I would feel awful if either Tyler Adams or Chris Richards got hurt. And I also don't know, even though he's going to play, at what level? Is he playing through pain? Is he healthy? I don't know if he's healthy. He's healthy enough. And does that mean he's playing 90 minutes? Does that mean that after 60 minutes of this game, if they're winning, they throw McKenzie on to make sure that you're easing him into the tournament rather than having him play 90 minutes from the beginning? I was slightly encouraged by the video of them celebrating the Knicks game-winning shot, and he was jumping around and doing dog piles. So I'm encouraged in that respect. But yeah, I mean, his development has been incredible, and the fact that he found the right place. I think that maybe if for the next cycle, as we think about other young players from an American standpoint developing and MLS developing more players are going to get sold abroad. I think the thinking has to be, rather than the biggest and the best place, the right place for a player to go. So Chris Richards was at Bayern Munich. He could have stayed and tried to find a way into the Bayern Munich team. I think we now can pretty clearly see there was not a path for him into the Bayern Munich team. So what's the right place for him to go? For Pulisic, for a while, it was Milan. For Richards, for a while, it's been Crystal Palace. We'll see if that continues as they change to a new manager. So I think for all these guys, they have to be thinking not where is the biggest paycheck going to come from? Where is the biggest notoriety? What's the best headline? It's what's the right place for me to go and develop. And I think Richards shows exactly the right place.
Yeah, and happy to be here, FC, otherwise known as Crystal Palace. Now they get to figure out who they're going to bring in. I think it was, Pierre Sage, I think, is who they're looking at, with Oliver Glasner not happy with the front office. Gee, we've heard that story with Crystal Palace before. Did I say that out loud? All right, so one other person I want to get into, then I want to ask about the Canadian national team because they've got the early game today. Alex Freeman. We mentioned how Alex has grown. We've seen him ever since his time at Orlando City B. He evolved there, gets first team minutes, and then he goes to play in Europe. I think that having Destin Freeman on that right-hand side can really create problems for the left-hand side of defenses having to go up against them because of what you were talking about with Dest, and Freeman able to do that coming in from behind. I think you can cause some real chaos down that right-hand side.
Yeah, I think Freeman is sort of a fascinating sort of change of role for him. I kind of thought when he first sort of emerged in the Gold Cup, he was getting forward as a right back and getting forward. Like he was bombing on. And now you kind of have to create these sort of associations down either side. I think the sort of Ream to Robinson to Pulisic association down the left side is very effective. And I think Ream is never going to fly forward, but as a distributor and getting Robinson into good positions, it works very well. I think Freeman has I think sort of has the most tactically evolved role in the team. He's the one that is going to have to make the most decisions. And I think his positioning affects a lot of what the U.S. do. And so there are times in the Germany game where it looked like he was playing in a flat back four and sort of acted as a fullback. But if he is going to play as more of a right center back, then you're sort of making a determination about when to join into midfield, when to be the last line of rest defense and be in a good position when the ball turns over, or do I join and go beyond Dest as a fullback, and sort of all the adjustments that are required therein. So I think it's kind of fascinating that Poch has almost put the biggest burden of thought on Freeman, a player with probably the least amount of professional experience, even though he is a player who has developed incredibly well. You go back to January 2025, he was an MLS Next Pro player. He was a player that, still was waiting to see if he was going to be ahead of Dagger Dan Torhalson at Orlando City. And now he's starting as the right center back at the World Cup. So the fact that he has developed to such a degree in such a short period of time, obviously now playing for half a season in Spain, is fairly extraordinary. So yeah, I think it is kind of remarkable, this sort of burden that they placed upon him. But I think based off what we saw in the two friendlies, it works. It absolutely works for him.
Wow, a Dagger Dan reference here on a Friday morning. That's a lot of vowels, so it's not a whole lot of Scrabble points, but it does take up the entire line when it comes to social media. 30,000-foot question on Canada. They start the day off, and if anybody is still, kind of sitting there and poo-pooing Bosnia and Herzegovina, I take my finger and I wag at you, very much Dikembe Mutombo style. Set pieces with Edin Dzeko, who still can smash it in like anybody. You have the Milwaukee Messi on the bench in Bayraktarovic. I just like saying Milwaukee Messi. This one I think is going to be tougher, but you have all these injury concerns. Bombito, question mark, like we were talking about with Chris Richards, how many minutes? Ahmed, Davies, Schaffelberg, Promise David. I see more question marks. I have the question mark bubbles over my head when it comes to Canada in the long term here.
Agreed. And I think even when fully fit, there are still questions about the team as well. If you go back and look through their recent run of results, they played a lot at home, and there are a lot of draws, and there are a lot of games with not a lot of goals as well either. And I think it just doesn't seem as though they're arriving at the World Cup at the right time. I think they arrived at, that sort of period around when they got to the semifinal of Copa America, came incredibly close to getting to the final. That period right after where they beat the United States in the aftermath of that sort of interim period, that feels like kind of the peak, and they've been struggling to recapture it, in my opinion. So I also kind of wonder as well if the sort of Jesse Marsch style of play, first off, it has kind of gone out of favor in world football. Even the Red Bull teams don't even really play that way anymore, including New York Red Bulls. So I think you don't really see teams play that way much, but it is one of those things where an identity goes a long way at a World Cup because a lot of teams don't have one. And so I think the fact that they do is useful, but to your point, that sort of personnel worry, and the worry that I have with them is they seem to create a lot of shots and don't score a lot of goals. Mm-hmm. And that seems to also be a thing. I remember when Jesse Marsch was in charge of Leeds, he would always say after the game, we won the XG battle, we just got to finish the chances. Well, if at a certain point, the whole game is predicated upon chaos, do your finishers have the calm of mind in order to go and finish those chances when they've been running around like chickens with their heads cut off for the lion's share of the game? That, I think, would be the question for him and for them. So I think they're going to have to ride the wave of a home field. The question is it going to look like Azteca yesterday, or is it going to look like 25,000 Bosnia fans got some tickets, which I think is a very real possibility. So I think that the makeup of the crowd, that sort of level of enthusiasm, we don't really know what that's going to look like in LA either. I'm hoping that it's an incredibly pro-U.S. crowd and tons of people show up, despite the fact that the tickets are absolutely ridiculously priced. Mm-hmm. But I think for Canada, it's massive to get that sort of level of atmosphere into the ground, because otherwise I think what do you have to sort of write off? The build-up for them has not been very good on the basis of the injuries, and even Ismail Kone leaving the group with fever and all this stuff. There are too many problems that they have from a playing standpoint. I actually would suggest going into the game, I think Bosnia are going to get a draw from this game. I really do, because Canada draw tons of games, and I think Bosnia are just pesky enough of a problem to beat, as Italy found out, that I think Canada could potentially struggle in the game.
Young broadcaster question before I let you do the plug once again for the P&L district and the trip in Kansas City. How many different leagues have you called in the first 6 months of 26?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. It's a good thing that I keep track of all of these things. So give me 1 second.
Sure.
I keep track of all the games. So Serie A, Liga MX, the Women's Champions League, the Men's Champions League, Major League Soccer, the NWSL. So that's 6.
Yep.
If we're counting separate Italian competitions, I don't really, but Coppa Italia is sort of we call the domestic cup, and that's it. So 7.
Okay. How do you keep your brain straight? Because there are times I would imagine where you're doing back-to-backers with different leagues and different teams. For the young burgeoning broadcaster out there, how do you compartmentalize things so you're not talking about Venezia when you want to be talking about Roma?
So I think the most important thing is that in the day-to-day is to stay in touch with all of it. You don't have to necessarily be sort of prepping for a game level with all those teams all the time, but to know, the stories about every team, right? That you go, for example, into the Women's Champions League semifinal, that Lyon is a team that are the sort of traditional blue bloods of women's European football, that Barcelona are next as having been to the last 5 finals, that Arsenal, won it last year, and they're really making a push. That Bayern Munich are not quite there, but they're really trying. Like again, that's a sentence, right? To sort of know what the sentence is or the paragraph is about every team as sort of a foundational base. Now that is a lot. And I've been lucky to sort of acquire some experience. So when I worked at Univision, so I know the sort of gist of Mexican football. That I'm not necessarily dialed into it every weekend, but I still flip through the FOTMob. I look through the results and see, Chivas is top of the league. I see that Tigres are struggling and America are going to fire their manager. But again, this is sort of minor stuff. And then realistically, when it comes down to it, you do your prep and you dial in on teams and you dial in before the game. You read everything you can read. I'm a big believer in reading, especially from a play-by-play standpoint. I read more than I watch or than I listen. So I try and read everything that I can. I try and read as local as I can, which is why I think local media is so absolutely massive. I try to listen to, let's say, a local podcast before I do a game, just to see what the temperature and the conversation and the talking points are. And then, then you get in the game, and the game is the game. So it really is about sort of having that storyline foundation, then doing the detailed prep, and then sort of having that knowledge. The soccer is soccer. You don't have to go crazy thinking that it's a completely different thing. It's exactly the same thing, just in a different form.
All right. So if you would please, sir, I know that Marcelo Balboa is helping out CBS as well, and Cello loves crashing us and running smack on me as much as humanly possible. If you would please, sir, cut the promo and let everybody know what's going on with your time over at CBS before you gain 10 pounds looking at barbecue and rather large slabs of meat.
Yes, I will definitely be looking to find one. So I am part of our coverage tonight for the U.S. men's national team game. We're going to be live at the Power and Light District, which we expect to be completely full of people. We'll be on before the game, we'll be on after the game, and that really is the model for us for every World Cup game throughout the tournament. So we're covering all 104 games, and we come right on after the final whistle, and we are on right up until the opening whistle, and then we'll try and provide some news and notes throughout games as well, but for the most part, we're going to be watching before and after. So if you turn on the CBS Sports Golazo Network, we hope that there are fewer commercials, and we hope as well that there sort of are moments as well where you can kind of take in our coverage, because we really back what we do, and that follows everything on Instagram and on TikTok and all the other social media. We're just going to be pumping out content as it relates to World Cup all of the time. So check everything out. We're covering every game of the World Cup, and we'll be here for all of it.
Me and the TikToks, we have yet to shake hands and figure out how to do it. You don't want me on the TikToks, man. That's some bad stuff. You know that the door is open, garage door. You know where the key is under the mat. You know the code to the garage door. If you ever want to come in and vent your spleen, seriously, you now have the key to the studio space, and it's like, Nelson, I got to talk about A, B, C, D, or E. Come in and crash at any time. Bring friends. I don't care. Let's have fun. Good to see you, my friend. Have a great broadcastises. And we'll hope for a great result. Have fun in KC.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
There's Chris Whittyngham, and I know that we kept him into added time, and I profoundly apologize, because now he's going to go get brunch. He's going to go get brunch and stuff. So no, I once again, thanks to Chris for putting up with my ish, and that's where we are. So Golazo Network, Whittyngham and the cast of thousands in Kansas City doing their thing, and it's great to catch up with him and find out what's going on. Okay, speaking of the U.S., let's hear from Mauricio Pochettino, shall we? And let you know what is going on with anything and everything that is attached to this matchup tonight. So, evasive. See, now they're getting smart, but where is it? It's not there. Okay, so maybe it was already blown out. That maybe it was already, because evasive dribble W is on the Twitch, but it is not on the Twitch pitch, so we can't report it. Maybe it's already been reported and blown out. Maybe it has. Alex, we're going to talk after these sound bites. But evasive dribble W has apparently gone in, tried to sit there and get folks going to stream boo, but they've been blown out of the Twitch pitch. So that's always a plus. Anyway, all right, Mauricio Pochettino. We got to talk about the U.S. coming into tonight. And there are a couple of things that we are getting into topics-wise. Asked about the general idea of where the team is coming in and where the squad is in general when it comes to this matchup tonight, its importance, all the things A, B, C, D, and E. So first and foremost, first soundbite, Mauricio Pochettino from the MD-1s yesterday, courtesy of our friends at FIFA. Mauricio Pochettino getting ready for later tonight.
I think the last few months, I think from the last September, October, and November, 2025, and I think in March and now, I think the evolution was, when we were close to the World Cup, I think we started to evolve and do better and better and better. I think the last two games, I think, allowed us to think and to feel that it's possible to do whatever we want and compete in our best and to compete with big teams. But I think the evolution, when the competition is close, I think helping to the player to realize that we needed to improve our standards and to start to be more serious in the way that we take play for your national team. Always we were talking, it was difficult for you to understand, but when you are qualified, we arrived 1 year and a half before to start the World Cup. It's not easy to deal with that for the player, because when we signed in September, October of 2024, we in that moment we started to play the World Cup. But we wanted the players start to play, and the organization too. But it was so difficult to put on the same, line. But I think on the end, being, consistent in our fight, I think that is why we can say that arrive in a very good condition, and so proud about the player, that all the players that were involved in that process in 1 year and a half until today, that all the players, I think they are much better players. They are, the mindset start to change, and I think we embrace the culture of that country that is being the number one and competitive, and not to play friendly games, if not, or play non-official games or official games. And I think that is a massive step, and is going to be a massive legacy for the future.
Legacy for the future. Mauricio Pochettino discussing getting ready and the path that they have taken, going from when he and the staff walked in the door to getting ready for the matchup tonight. Then he was asked about his journey over the last 20 years, and his answer went from that as a player to now him as a coach, and he kind of breaks down also what his thoughts are on the squad in general coming into the matchup tonight against Paraguay. Here's once again Mauricio Pochettino at the MD-1.
We use to improve and to learn. Life is about that, and all this type of experience make you a better professional, better person. We try to approach that preparation for our World Cup I think in terms that we designed in between, of course, the coaching staff, the federation, all the areas on the federation in the best way that as possible we can. Trying to create the best platform for the player, not only to perform, if not to settle some principles and values during the dynamic of the group in the last 3 weeks, trying to arrive in our best condition. In our best condition is not only training, it's not only preparing, having the strategy and the game plan and the tactics work and everything, but also mental, because I know very well what means to play a World Cup, and yes, it's important the physical level, it's important the tactical, technical, and everything, but I think most of these things, if you are not well prepared in that area, I think it's difficult to perform in the way that you want and you expect. And I think we were working a lot. And I think we arrived in a very good condition. If you say to me, I am so happy. If you say to me, that is the best experience that I am living after I was a player or a coach, that camp it's been amazing. Time fly, no? When the people arrive to the end of the day and people is happy and say, oh, we need to go to sleep. Yes, we need to go to sleep. That is because something are doing well, something is growing, no, in the group, and what we can tell so far until today, that all the conditions are very positive, and we are so happy on the preparation.
Happy on the preps. We've got a 20-year background to get to this particular point. Mauricio Pochettino, head coach of the USM&T, as they get ready for late night tonight, 9 o'clock at the stadium, formerly known as SoFi, until they kick off, and then it turns into LA Stadium. So once again, thanks to Chris Whittyngham. I know I kept him over. He kept opening doors. I tried not to keep him and make sure that he wasn't going to strangle me in the future. So thanks again to Chris, and thanks once again to our friend Kirk Reynolds at Major League Soccer for letting the runway open up and bring in all these guests that we get to on your Fridays. So that is Mauricio Pochettino. That is where we are. Once again, remember, here's the plan for today. After we are done, it is going to be from 5 to 6 at Reformation on SDH YouTube platforms, X, Twitch, YouTube, all the things. We're on from 5 to 6. Then after, we are done at 6 o'clock. Hard out, 6 o'clock. Change over. 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app. Jason, Atlanta Soccer Tonight. That is going to be a part of everything going on. 6 to 8, live from Mazzy's in Duluth. 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Jason, by the way, is going to be 2 places at once. Atlanta News First's Overtime, 7:30. He'll have an appearance on that with Bailey Burmaster and everybody over there at Channel 46. So 6 to 8, Mazzy's in Duluth, 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Then the game. And then after that, once again, well, if you're there, once again, remember, shot at winning tickets to a match at Atlanta Stadium, thanks to our friends at Michelob Ultra. So Mazzy's in Duluth, 6 to 8, Atlanta Soccer Tonight, after we're at Reformation from 5 to 6. Me, Maddie, Drew, guests. We're going to talk about Canada and Bosnia-Herzegovina. We're going to set up the U.S. match. And then after the match is over, I'm thinking there's going to be a stoppage time. And it'll be on the 92.9 The Game YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that. SDH AM Weekend Edition starts tomorrow. World Cup only, but once again, starts tomorrow, 9:05 Eastern. We'll have all your wraps from what happened today. We're also going to catch up with the head coach at Auburn University, and we are going to find out about what it was like to have the biggest soccer crowd in the history of the state of Alabama in your place. Taping that interview this afternoon, and that's going to be a part of the morning show tomorrow. So it's going to be great to catch up with head coach James Armstrong and find out what's on his mind after 88,000 plus end up in one location. So that's going to be on the morning show tomorrow, 9:05 Eastern, Traditionally, it'll be a power hour. We'll find out how long we go. But that's your rundown to get you into Saturday, and Saturday's off and running. So speaking of Saturday, we got games. And also keep an eye out on your social media, because after every match, we're going to have the After the Whistle brought to us by our friends at Nofo Bruco. And we're going to be analyzing every darn tootin' match that's out there. That's the official term. Every darn tootin'. Every darn tootin' match. And so that's where we are with this weekend, at least to start. So Saturday, Sunday, 9:05 a.m. at the very least, it's going to be a power hour. We're going to go over everything that's there. Now, yes, tomorrow, 3 matches that are going on tomorrow. 3 o'clock, it is going to be Qatar and Switzerland. Switzerland is obviously the massive favorite in this one at a minus 417 along the way. Qatar is a plus 1,300, and the draw is a plus 550. So obviously it's going to be an uphill climb. I did not have Qatar making it out of Group B. First matchup in Group B is today. Qatar and Switzerland is tomorrow. Qatar comes in under head coach Julian Lopetegui at number 56. And they probably are not going to set the world on fire when it comes to their approach to play. Lopetegui basically had to do what he had to do to get into the World Cup. 4th out of 6 teams in the main qualifying group, home advantage and a favorable schedule. Drew with Oman, beat UAE to get in qualification. Several different formations, likely to go 4-2-3-1. Lessons from the last World Cup, according to John Durden at The Guardian, have been debated at length. Down 2-0 in the first 31 minutes to Ecuador. Could have been worse. But at number 55, that is where Qatar is coming into this tournament. Lucas Mendez is one of the defenders at the back of Al-Wakra, Brazilian-born center back. Then you have Boualem Kuki from Al-Sadd at the age of 35, has been sent to the back line, a former winger, so he knows what life is like to be in the attack. Now he's doing that from defense. It's like having an offensive line coach be a defensive line coach in college football. So then you've got midfielders. You look at a veteran like Abdulaziz Hatem. Karim Boudiaf obviously is going to have your spot shadow, the 35-year-old from Al Dahail. And earning a draw with Northern Ireland back in 2015. So he has the history that is attached there. Asim Madibo is someone who's going to be putting in a lot of miles, the 29-year-old from Al-Wakra. Forwards, you're looking at Hassan Al-Haidos, 35-year-old playing from Al-Sadd. 469 days of international retirement, came back last year. Julian Lopetegui asked him to come back. He did. Player really to pay attention to up front at forward is Akram Afif, the 29-year-old who plays for Al-Sadd. He is like the two-time Asian Player of the Year. So you're going to have Afif, Yusuf Abdurisag on the wing, and you also have Almoez Ali, the all-time leading goal scorer in national team history. So will you soak up pressure and try and get something done on the counter? I believe you are. I think that's how it's going to go for Qatar in this, but obviously going up against Switzerland, top 20 in the world. You've got Granit Xhaka as part of the attack. At the back, some familiar names. Manuel Akanji is obviously their defensive leader. In the midfield, Denny Zakaria. Xhaka is your captain. Michel Abisher, the 29-year-old out of Pisa. And then at forward, you're looking at Braille and Bolo. You're also looking at folks like Noah Okafor and Zeki Amdouni, who is at the age of 25 playing at Burnley, and Cedric Eten, the 29-year-old who plays for Fortuna Düsseldorf. So that's what you're looking at from Switzerland and Qatar heading into that matchup, and that is the early game on Saturday. The middle game on Saturday, Brazil and Morocco, sneaky interesting here. Brazil minus 154. Draws a plus 290, and Morocco is a plus 475. Group C, often running here. Brazil, ranked number 6 in the world, built around Vinicius in the 4-2-4. Number 6 ranked team on the planet. Alisson is obviously your number 1 keeper. You've got Weverton, Ederson, and Alisson. Defenders, Magalhães, Marquinhos, Alexandro, Danilo. Then you have Bremer, Leo Pereira, Douglas Santos, and Ibanez. Midfield, Ederson, Casemiro, Bruno Guimaraes, Fabinho, Lucas Paquetá, Danilo Santos. Forwards, Vinicius Jr., Mateus Cunha, Neymar, Rafinha, Igor Thiago, who lit it up this season at Brentford, Gabriel Martinelli, Endrick, Luis Enrique, and Ryan. 19-year-old at Bournemouth, and lit it up. Basically, you've got 9 forwards listed, but obviously when you're in a 4-2-4, that makes sense. Only 6 midfielders, 8 defenders. Fullbacks might be a concern for Brazil. And when you're talking about Neymar, you're only talking about him as a man and not the man. So you've got that one working its way out in Brazil. Morocco is the question mark. Mohamed Ouabi, ranked number 7 in the world. But remember, you had a coaching change. A stunning coaching change. Reached the semifinals of the World Cup in Qatar. Everybody remembers the AFCON final. So Morocco right now, as they are laid out at number 7, Bunu from Al Hilal, Ashraf Hakimi, El Wadi Issa Diop, Bellamari, and Redouani Halhal on defense. Midfield, Amrabat, Ayub Bouadi, Unahi from Girona, Bouadi playing at Lille at the age of 18. Samir El Mourabet, a former futsal player actually, plays at Strasbourg. Then you have Yassine El Khanous and Neil El Ayanoui. By the way, Neil El Ayanoui, the son of Moroccan tennis legend Younes El Ayanoui, had to make a choice, and he chose soccer. Forwards, Soufiane Rahimi, Brahim Diaz, Sabai, Amai Mouni, and Ayub El Kabi. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. This is one of those that you spot shadow coming out of the top. Then Haiti and Scotland is at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Haiti is a plus 500. Draws a plus 333. Scotland is a minus 175 in this one. Obviously, no real surprise that Scotland is favored as heavily as they are. But we did have news out of the Scottish camp this morning, and I want to phrase it correctly. I want to phrase this correctly from this morning. So, BBC Sports Scotland, Scottish midfielder Scott McTominay was not on the team bus as it arrived at the hotel in Boston after missing Thursday's training session because of an upset stomach. 29-year-old made his own onward journey with a doctor in what is believed to be a precautionary measure. So, Scott McTominay at 29, doing incredibly well at Napoli, a little under the weather, did not go to Thursday's practice. He's getting whatever bug he is dealing with treated, and that is first and foremost. For Haiti, they are doing incredible work. Can't play inside the territory of your home country because of gang violence, war, assassinations, and you still qualify for this tournament. And you even had to adjust your jersey and had to have it redone literally right before the tournament. Because apparently FIFA was not pleased with the, how do we phrase this? The artwork on the right hip. wearing different kits. FIFA objected to the original design, which featured a depiction of a scene from the Haitian Revolution of 1804. FIFA asked Saita, the company responsible for the design, to alter it. Design of the Battle of Vertières from 1803, considered decisive for the country's independence following their conflict with France. So the jersey that you will see is going to be it's going to be a little different. FIFA had objected to the original design. So they go to Saita. Saita kind of cleaned it up. And so now you're going to see a more plain Haitian jersey tomorrow than what was originally anticipated. Freedom fighters led by former slave Toussaint Louverture overthrew their French colonizers, a group, and this is from The Athletic and from the article by Nick Miller. Group of men shown raising a tattered blue and red flag at the Battle of Vertières, November 18, 1803, a couple of months before independence was declared. It was not a literal depiction of historical events because, as Marlene Dott, a professor at Yale, Haitian history expert and author of the book The First and Last King of Haiti, said to Miller, there isn't any actual reliable evidence a flag like this was raised at that battle. It was not like an Iwo Jima-ish kind of a moment. Quote, kind of symbolic at the end of the Haitian Revolution, then the Haitian people declared their independence formally on New Year's Day, 1804. There's a monument to Vertières in Cap-Haitien, which is the major port city. Around 900,000 forcibly transported enslaved Africans went through, end quote. And it is thought to be, according to Miller, the only slave revolution in history where the former captives overthrew their rulers, went on to govern the country themselves. Dott was asked about it. Quote, they set up their first slavery-free state in all the Americas, were the first nation anywhere in the world to permanently abolish slavery legally. Same on the home, away, and third shirts in blue, white, and red. The social media post declared this is more than just a jersey. It's a tribute to the Haiti people. Our history is not just told. It is worn, defended, and played with pride. First World Cup in 52 years for Haiti. And then right now, it is the words that go through FIFA and Saita keen to dispel the notion that this was a last-minute thing. FIFA said they were in contact with both Saita and Haiti's federation some weeks ago about the issue, maintains both understood concerns, happy to remove the image. Spokesperson for the Haitian team said following a misinterpretation, FIFA officials asked the federation to remove an image depicting Vertières and some independence heroes raising the Haitian flag. Federation has not issued any further statement on the matter. They simply asked Saita to change it. From FIFA's perspective, it is Article 28.1. Quote, the display of political, religious, or personal messages or slogans of any nature in any language or form by players and team officials on their playing team kits or other clothing considered as outerwear and formal attire before and after playing, and equipment, including kit bags, beverage containers, medical bags, etc., or body, is prohibited, end quote. So that was from Nick Miller at The Athletic. So the jersey that you will see Haiti wear is more tame than what was originally created. So Thierry Henry believes in Haiti and thinks that they'll get a result against Ecuador. And you'll have that. They arrived at their hotel in Quincy, Mass. And the Haitians were there right outside the hotel. That's what this is all about. This is the fun part that's attached to all of this. Haiti had to play in Curacao, I believe, to qualify. That was their home base. Sébastien Mignet ranked 83rd in the world. You look at Ricardo Ade at the back. You have an ex-pizza delivery guy in Wilgens Pogain, who plays for Zulte Waregem at the age of 24. You have you have a modern fullback in Martin Experience. Midfield, you look for a Danley Jean-Jacques from Philadelphia Union. Derek Etienne Jr., one of the forwards, along with Duckins Nazon, who plays at Esteghlal. Lucius Deedson, who's tied to FC Dallas. And Lenny Joseph, who was a surprise call-up, who plays at Ferencváros. So that is Haiti heading into this matchup. Then Haiti and Scotland, we mentioned what's going on with Scott McTominay. They're still at a minus 175. Then Sunday in the World Championships, as it is phrased, it is 5 matches on the board. You're going to have a late match with Australia and Turkey out west. Turkey is a minus 133. Australia is a plus 420. Draws a plus 280. 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, Germany hosting Curacao. Curaçao's a plus 3,500. Germany's a minus 1667. Draws a plus 1,900. Netherlands at 4 o'clock is an even money plus 100, taking on Japan at a plus 280. Draws a plus 260. 7 o'clock on Sunday, Ivory Coast at a plus 260, taking on Ecuador, who's a plus 145. Draw is a plus 185. 10 o'clock, Sweden and Tunisia. Sweden is a minus 111. Draw is a plus 250, and Tunisia is a plus 350. Obviously, we'll go over these matches more in depth on the morning show on Saturday and Sunday and look back at the matchups as they are played throughout the weekend. So that is the rundown of the weekend in the World Championship. Literally, that's what they call it. Because you don't want to draw the ire of FIFA by saying what it is. So the Juicebox purveyor that I was referencing is referring to it as the World Championships. Not wrong. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Your trending rumors. Manchester United shortlisting Lewis Hall. Sorry, Alex. And Phillips Jedi Robinson as options to sign at left back, according to Sky. United in the market for a left back this summer. Competition needed for Luke Shaw after Turo Malacia's exit and Dorgu being used further up the pitch. They've been tracking Hall for a while. Newcastle reportedly wants a fee upward of £60 million. Jedi Robinson entering the final 2 years of his contract at Fulham. Managerial uncertainty playing a potential factor in any move. He could be available for less. Arsenal considering a move to sign AS Roma midfielder Manu Kone, according to L'Equipe. He is impressed at Roma. The Italian side need to comply with FFP, and some players got to go. Fee of around €40 million reported enough to persuade them into letting the France international go. Inter Milan also rumored to be interested. Real Madrid looking to sign Bernardo Silva as a free when his contract comes to an end, but the club will make room for him by looking to loan 18-year-old forward Franco Mastantuono to Juve, according to Tutto Sport. Cost the club €45 million last summer when he joined from River Plate, left out of Argentina's World Cup squad as he struggled to adapt to his new home, now leaving for more game time. PSG made contact with West Ham over a potential double swoop to sign Mateus Fernandes and Crescencio Somerville. Foot Mercato reports that the European champs want to land them both available after the Hammers got relegated, double transfer valued at €130 million. Fernandes has also been linked with a move to Manchester United and Arsenal. Speaking of United, preparing to sign an offer to sign Lens midfielder Mamadou Sangare, according to Foot Mercato. The Malian international reported to be attracting attention following a debut campaign in Ligue 1. Michael Carrick's side not alone in their interest. Other unnamed Premier League teams monitoring Sangare on loan on a long-term deal at Lens. Acceptance he could leave this summer if the right bid arrives. Manchester City on the women's side, by the way, signed Beth Mead on a 3-year deal, offering her a new contract. Arsenal wanted terms were less than what she expected, so she's now at Manchester City. ESPN reporting the following. Real Madrid advanced negotiations to sign Bernardo Silva. Atletico de Madrid PSG have opened talks for the transfer of Lee Kang-in, looking at the neighborhood of €35 million. Manchester City made a bid for Elliot Anderson from Forest. City's verbal understood to be 106, with add-ons taking the value at 120. Forest wanted to be 120 before add-ons. United ready to pull out of the race to sign Anderson. No real surprise considering the price tag. Other rumors. L'Equipe. Manchester City have asked about the possibility of signing Chelsea right back Malo Gusto. Fabrizio Romano. Newcastle sent their first official offer to Osasuna to sign former Real Madrid winger Victor Munoz. Bild. Borussia Dortmund defender Nico Schlotterbeck isn't thinking about a move to Real Madrid while Germany's at the World Cup. Mundo Deportivo. Barcelona have opened talks with forward Ferran Torres regarding a new deal as he's going into the final year of his deal. Mundo Deportivo again. Darwin Nunez has emerged as a possible potential transfer target for Barcelona if he leaves Al Hilal as a free agent this summer. The Mirror. Trabzonspor want to bring in Andre Onana. Manchester United and Drew Dickinson are probably just like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and open that door. You go right ahead. Fulham are the front runners in the race to sign Parma center back Mariano Troilo, tracked by Brighton, Brentford, and Leeds. That's from Ekrem Konur, who also reports Coventry City looking to improve their defensive line, shortlisting 24-year-old Porto left back Francisco Moura as an option. Sky, Kieran Trippier is considering ending his contract with Wolves early. He had agreed to join after Newcastle, but then the sacking of Rob Edwards is making him have second thoughts. I wonder if he'll be the only one. The answer I'm thinking is no. Forest interested in David Fratese as a replacement for Elliot Anderson. That's at Gazzetta. Tutto Sport Roma playmaker Matthias Sula attracting interest in Borussia Dortmund, while a €40 million valuation has been placed on him. And Tutto Sport, Luka Modric is set for crunch talks with AC Milan in the coming days over a contract extension, likely depending on who takes over as the next manager, as Oliver Glasner is number one in the clubhouse. So that's the activity that is going on when it comes to who's thinking about going where and doing what. So what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps us, helps them, helps you. Get all of the streaming services, add to the streaming services that you currently have, and you get a lot of the A and B divisions in South America. You get all the BNs, which means Middle East and North Africa. You get a lot of AFCON, CAF, Champions League, U17s, Olympic qualifiers, all the things there. You get French League, Polish League, and Turkish League with BNs. You get Libertadores Sudamericana with TIC. You get Copa Argentina and all of their wall-to-wall coverage of Argentina in the World Cup. They were in Auburn. It was a hoot. TVV out of Venezuela. CDO out of Chile. You get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. All the things all in one place at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. World Cup, 3-9. Canada, Bosnia, Herzegovina, USA, Paraguay. Fox, Telemundo, Fox, ONE, and Peacock. That's it. At least on the main stage. I'm sure that there are places that you could find the Scottish second division and everything else that's going on. But that is it for today. Literally, it is those who are airing those things. That is it. That is the rundown of everything to watch. Basically, y'all go here. That's basically it. I'm trying to see if there are any other stories that I might have missed. Let's see. Yes, be prepared for the Tartan Army, folks. Be prepared for the Tartan Army. Jose Mourinho officially back at Real Madrid. He's returning. It's officially official once again. When your front office, when Florentino Perez ends up heading back and he's reelected, then that way you know that you, sir, are ready to come back and be part and parcel to the growth of it all. So Jose Mourinho back, cost, I think, $13 million to get him from Benfica. And so now he is officially back and ready to roll for one more time. Edin Dzeko, in an interview, said, I didn't think I'd be playing at 40. But you are. Brighton make a £30 million offer to Vuskovic as Spurs are maintaining their interest in Van Hecke. Mo Salah's agent is now hitting back at rumors about him heading to Turkey. Speculation about him heading to Fenerbahce. He's with Egypt at the World Cup. Rami Abbas, his agent, says he's doing perfectly fine. Quoting him on the Twitters, neither he nor I prefer to discuss sensitive future plans with people not involved in them. Both he and I are very private about these things. Yes, people may ask, and they may get a standard polite response, but that's about it. Barcelona is set to reject the chance to sign Marcus Rashford for the £26 million release fee. Newcastle rekindled interest in James Trafford from Manchester City, according to David Ornstein. Trying to see if there's anything else that I've missed. Southampton, Scotland striker Ross Stewart on the release list at Southampton. And James Bree has signed a new deal at Southampton through the summer of 2029. And we have other lower division things, the retained list. Confirmed 8 players leaving the club when their contract expires. Romeu, Smallbone, Stewart, McCarthy, Aribo, Jones, Taylor, and Elias Giller. So Luka Vuskovic, Brighton make that £30 million offer once again. De Zerbi's maintaining a Jean-Paul Van Hecke interest. Pierre Sage on the verge of becoming Crystal Palace's new head coach this morning, waiting to receive his work permit before being officially confirmed as Glasner's successor. They've agreed on a compensation package from Lens to release Sage from his contract at the League One club. So Will Still has been appointed the head coach at Auxerre in Ligue 1. Left his job in France with Lens to join Southampton. Lasted 16 games before he was sacked. Christophe Pellissier had Auxerre finishing 15th in Ligue 1 last year. And so now it is Will Still heading back to be a part of things there in that go-around. Let me check the papers really quickly. Let me see if I've missed anything. Otherwise, we are out the door, and that is it for yet another week. Once again, it is going to be 5 to 6 at Reformation, me, Drew, and Maddie with guests. Atlanta Soccer tonight, 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app from 6 to 8. Jason's going to be at Mazzy's in Duluth. You have the chance to win tickets to a game in Atlanta, thanks to Mick Ultra. And then Jason's also going to be on ANF's Overtime, Channel 46. That is going to be on at 7:30 tonight, that conversation with Bailey Burmaster. Then I'm trying to see if there is anything else that I missed. Yeah, Wolves players are still pissed that Rob Edwards got sacked, and especially while Rob Edwards was on holiday. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I might have missed here, and I think we are actually caught up. So that should do it. Let me check with our buddy Ben Jacobs, see if I missed anything from him and his Twitters, and then we will call it a day because we got all the things. 3 o'clock, Canada, Bosnia-Herzegovina, 9 o'clock, U.S. and Paraguay. That's coming up tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning at 9:05. Obviously, we'll talk about part of it coming up later today. Charlotte are set to sign Alain Saint-Maximin on a 3-year deal. Deal is currently being formalized. We do not have the pen and the smile over the piece of paper that is not being touched currently. Bernardo Silva to Real Madrid now agreed to in principle. And it looks like that's it. There we go. Ben Jacobs, very, very busy man here in this side of the planet. But once again, 3 o'clock, Canada match. 5 o'clock, 5 to 6, us at Reformation. 6 to 8, Jason and Atlanta Soccer tonight, 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app. 9 o'clock, U.S. and Paraguay. After, post-game, someplace, 92.9 the game YouTube channel. We'll check there. 9:05 tomorrow morning. SDH AM weekend edition with me and you and everybody here. Since it is the end of yet another week, thanks to everybody who has been a part of it. All the guests, all the things, all the places that we got to talk about this week as we are now in the World Championships tournament. Do that so the folks in power don't get mad. Since it's yet another week, thanks to all of you guys that were hanging out with us. And Alex, no, I'm never going to say anything nice about anything involving schools that are the University of Coral Gables or the University of South Georgia Gainesville campus. Not going to happen. Not happening. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. Morning, Will. And morning to all of you who are hanging out, however you're doing so, on all of the SDH social medias. Since it is the end of yet another week, it is time to get gassed up, geared up, and ready to go. It's a big day for soccer in the U.S. tonight. Just be ready. Be ready to roll. Be there to support and do your best. We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. We'll talk about it this afternoon. We'll talk about it tonight. There's a lot to talk about. Then another week here at SDH AM. We end it as we always do. Mucho plot, y'all play it safe. We'll see you later this afternoon.
The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' lips